Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
I did this sweatshirt again once.
All right, so today I wanted to talk about some things that we really don't have time to talk about in class, doing meditation, breath work, and how to, and all the different kinds of meditation and breath work that we regularly practice in our own practice, and breath work that we do together in the class as a studio. So, and then we'll do a quick meditation at the end of the video. I think we're all familiar with Pranayama deep breathing, and that is the breath that we do at the beginning of the hot warm series. So Pranayama is very similar to Ujjayi breath, ocean breath. So let's start with that. Ocean breath is meant to be used during any type of practice, any type of class. It's predominantly mentioned in flow classes, as it's a breath by breath, movement to breath type of class. So Ujjayi breath is called the ocean breath because it's in through the nose, out through the nose, and hearing yourself breathe, it will sound like the ocean waves coming up and then receding. And so you constrict the muscles of the throat, breathing in and out through the nose, in through the nose, soft snoring sound. Out through the nose, soft snoring sound. The reason we're constricting the nose and the throat is to slow down the breath so that we are the ones in control of the breath. Therefore, we control the heart rate in the body. So throughout the practice, every movement is to a breath in the flow class. So some things about pranayama breath that I wanted to go over. In general, the definition of pranayama, it's a Sanskrit term, and the word just means breath control. We're literally just controlling the breath. And so Ujjayi, Kapalabhati, all these other types of breathing that we do that you're familiar with in the studio, they're all different forms of pranayama. Now at the beginning of the hot warm series during pranayama, we're also adding the motion to the breath. And the only difference between that breath and Ujjayi is that the exhale is with an open mouth for the purpose of heating up the body, and we can constrict the throat a little bit more with an open mouth. Some of the things I find a lot of people struggle with pranayama is actually having the control to slow down the breath. And so a good way to start practicing this while we're at home and have not much else to do is to literally just focus on creating a snoring sound on your inhale. And as you focus on creating the snoring sound in through your nose and out through your nose on the exhale, then you can move on to practicing with in through your nose. Out through the mouth. And when you gain control of the muscles back here on creating that soft snoring sound on the inhale, you will notice over time you'll be able to make each breath a little bit longer. So maybe the first day you start doing pranayama, you can only inhale for 6 seconds through the nose. Practice 10-12 breaths a day. On the second day, you'll be able to make your inhale up to 7 seconds. And the third day, maybe you'll have 7.5, 8-second inhale. And after time, especially after using these types of breathing exercise throughout the whole practice, when the inhale and exhale is cued, you will eventually be able to slow down your breath to anywhere from, 30-second inhale, 30-second exhale. Some people can breathe, 1 minute in and 1 minute out. It just depends on how committed you are to the practice and how much practice you do. Lungs are just like any other part of the body. With enough practice, they can stretch and expand and grow very, very easily. So, during this video, I kind of wanted to cover the benefits of the breath, the definitions and differences between Pranayama, Ujjayi, Kumbhaka, and Kapalabhati breath. These are 4 types of breathing we use throughout the studio, and maybe you hear the words and have no idea what we're talking about, so this is a good time. So Pranayama also means life force, noted particularly as the breath, and in yoga the breath is connected the same as the spirit. It's connected to life. It's mind, body, spirit predominantly is mind, body, breath connection, and that's what we're talking about. In yogic philosophy, the breath is just life and it's just the spirit of the body. So we're altering the breath, we're controlling the breath to give specific results for each breath. Other modern translations of pranayama include breath respiration, the breath of life, vital air, the principle of life, energy, or even the spirit or the soul. So in the Bhagavad Gita, pranayama is mentioned in verse, and I'm reading here, 429. According to the Bhagavad Gita, as it is, pranayama is translated to trance induced by stopping all breathing, also being made from the 2 separate Sanskrit words, prana and ama. So we don't want to stop all breathing, but we do want to focus on making each breath a little bit longer, a little bit more intentional, a little bit slower. It's also mentioned in the sutras, and maybe I'll get into that or reading from that next time. Pranayama is also the 4th limb of the 8 limbs of yoga. If you're interested in that, I'll probably do a separate video talking about the limbs. So while we're in pranayama, which is control of the breath, we'll come back to Ujjayi breathing, ocean breath. It's basically the gateway in to pranayama, all other forms of controlled breathing. So Manda explains this as a soft, whispering breath, which you'll also hear called victorious breath or ocean breath. It's compared to the sound of the wind through the trees or the waves coming to the shore. So Ujjayi is also translated as having victory over something, being victorious over something. It's a very powerful breath, and when used throughout our vinyasa or 26-2 classes, I personally feel very victorious because instead of my heart rate and out of breath controlling me, I'm controlling the breath and my heart rate, and I'm able to move the body in ways that I want to instead of ways that I have to, letting the breath control me. So again, prana means life force, and yama means control, restraint, regulation. So Ujjayi breath mechanics I want to get into a little bit. With Ujjayi breath, you breathe in and out of the nose with lips sealed. No breath passes through the lips. And this is also helpful as a beginner breath, a gateway breath, to kind of awaken the muscles in the throat to be able to control that breath. It also serves to build heat in the body if the lips gently close. Although the breath is passing through the nostrils, the emphasis is on the throat. So when you're thinking of controlling this breath, you'll be thinking of the throat and being able to close the throat throughout the breath. All of it is going to be focused around the throat chakra. That's where the intention is. You create a constriction in the throat as if you're picturing breathing in and out of a thin, like squished up straw in the back of the throat. So while maintaining a closed mouth position, be mindful of any tension you're holding in this area, in the teeth, in the jaw, in the throat, and the neck. Again, be mindful, no tension should be coming from this area, just gently sealed, and the only constriction is in the back of the throat. So you can feel the breath in the back of your throat as you inhale and exhale. It comes hand in hand with the audibility of the breath, compared often to the sound of waves, Darth Vader, and Bradley sleeping at night because he snores like that. So the tone, the audibility is smooth and steady, continuous, uninterrupted, cycles of inhales and exhales. Often you cannot tell the difference in the sound between the exchange of in and out breath cycles. Along with the even tone of breath, the length of the breath is the same on the inhale as it is on the exhale. So, which is why in Pranayama, in the beginning of our 26-2 series, we count in for 6 seconds, out for 6 seconds. It's a very basic beginner's 6-second type of the breath. And also we're doing it with the mouth open. So as a beginner, if you're really struggling with this breathing, I recommend using some sort of a metronome or a timer on your phone, like literally watch the 6 seconds on the phone and go in for 6 seconds, pause on the 7th, exhale for 6 seconds, pause for a second, and just focus on literally getting used to constricting the muscles in the throat to create the breath. I noticed during, class as a teacher, and we don't have time to always address this, a lot of the people are just inhaling through your nose regularly, and then they're done inhaling within 2 to 3 seconds, holding their breath at the top for the rest of the 6 seconds, and then so out of breath, running out of breath and being empty lungs, having to take a small sip in between. This can be avoided simply by practicing at home and constricting the throat throughout the breath. So the last refinement is to breathe fully, deeply, and completely. Now, with Ujjayi breath, regular breath, with the mouth closed, we'll be breathing all the way in, belly will be open, and all the way out, belly will be in. In Pranayama, in the beginning of our hot warm series, we keep our belly totally sucked in on inhales and exhales and mouth open. So that means we're creating the breath with 100% of our lungs only and not using our diaphragm at all. With Ujjayi breath, the diaphragm will be used. It'll be completely a full inhale breath, belly wide, lungs full, and on the exhale, a complete exhale, belly totally in, all the way sucked in, lungs empty. And we'll practice Ujjayi breath and Pranayama breath at the end of the video. I'll give the directions, or maybe even a different video if this video becomes too long. A quote that I wanted to share is, "When you own your breath, nobody can steal your peace." And this is true throughout life as it is on the mat and off the mat. These are some principles I carry into my daily life. If something, if angry, fear, worry, any of these things is happening to me, if I'm experiencing this in the physical body, being able to actually control the breath calms the mind and controls the emotion. It lets me take a step back away from the body and just focus on the breath. So when you're starting Ujjayi breath, you want to be in a comfortable seat where everything is grounded, sit bones are grounded, spine straight, shoulders up and back, knees no higher than the hips. Basic stance for meditation. Very important is resting your mouth in a relaxed position and closing the lips gently for Ujjayi breath. Now, to start practicing this breath with your mouth open, exhale into your palm and pretend you are steaming up a mirror. This is the same muscle that we're using, and it's just to get a feel of the muscles in the throat. This is the same muscle that we're using throughout the breath. So now you want to try it with your mouth closed, and those same muscles will be on the inhale and the exhale. Mouth closed. Then work on slowing it down, making each breath a little bit longer. So notice if you find the inhale or the exhale more difficult, and see if you can maintain the sound even when your lips are sealed. Next, inhale with mouth open, and exhale, try and moving on to, instead of 3 seconds, making it 5 seconds. Instead of 5 seconds, making it 7 seconds. And notice when you feel comfortable, if you notice the muscles in the throat still in the same position, you might need to stop and kind of reset and practice with the mouth open. Notice again where resistance lies in the breath. Where are you struggling in the breath? And feel free to comment down below, or send me a message or a text with anything that you're struggling with, any questions you have about this breath that I haven't addressed, and any questions that you have after this video practicing the breath. So I wanted to kind of move on, because I could talk about this for forever, to Kapalabhati breath of fire, skull shining breath. And this breath is the breath that I see the most people struggling with in the class. Kapalabhati, skull shining breath of fire, because we're so used to, if you're good at pranayama breath, right, you're so used to using all of these muscles, and in Kapalabhati, we don't use any of these. This half of the body from here up is literally totally relaxed, no tension, no noise, no nothing. And a lot of the time I hear the noise at the end of the class, and that's not what this breath is. Kapalabhati breath, where it's a soundless, noiseless breath, and we're literally only using these muscles of the stomach throughout the breath. We're focusing on upper half of the body totally relaxed. Only thing we're using is we're keeping, muscles to keep the body still, and just taking the abdomen, your belly, and snapping it inward. So it's ab control, and it's the same control that we would use if we're doing half moon pose. Those are the muscles that we're going to be using throughout the breath. When we're doing, headstand, those are the same muscles that we use throughout Kapalabhati breath. So at the end of the hot worm series, we're focusing on literally using only these muscles. No sound, no nothing. And this breath can actually be done as a beginner with the mouth totally closed. It's predominantly done in most other practices, in and out only through your nose. And so we do it with the mouth open at the end of the series to cool down the body, give the body some air. It saturates the body with oxygen, and we're providing energy to the body after class and for the rest of the day. So Kapalabhati is skull shining breath. Kapala is skull, and Bhati is light, implying perception and knowledge. Its name comes from the two Sanskrit words Kapala, skull, Bhati is light. Sometimes people refer it as light skull breathing or skull brightener breath. And as you practice, you can imagine the lining of your skull being filled with the brightness of enlightenment. Kapalabhati is a traditional internal cleansing technique and can be used as a simple warm-up for formal pranayama. Kapalabhati, which is also a form of pranayama, is an intermediate to advanced pranayama breath control that consists of short, powerful exhales and passive inhales. So literally most of the breath is happening automatically, and we're really only exhaling intentionally through the belly. We're not exhaling and forcing the exhale out of the mouth. We're using the belly only. It should be literally totally silent. The only thing you can hear, even if your mouth is open, is just a small bit of air passing through. So, it's a traditional internal purification practice. Kriya yoga is in Sanskrit action, deed, or effort. It most commonly refers to a completed action, technique, or practice within a yoga discipline meant to achieve a specific result. Another meaning of Kriya is an outward physical manifestation of awakened Kundalini, and we'll go over that later in a different type of a video. So, step by step. We don't have time to discuss this all the time. How to properly do Kapalabhati. It consists of alternating short, explosive, Evie, honey, can you turn that down? You're gonna hurt your ears. Okay, consists of short, quick, alternating short, explosive exhales and slightly longer passive inhales. Exhales are generated by the powerful contractions of the lower belly. It's between the pubis and the navel. It pushes air out of the body and out of the lungs. We're only using the belly to breathe. The inhales are responses to the release of the contraction, which automatically sucks air back into the lungs. So there should not be any intentional inhale. The inhales will literally happen as the belly releases. The body will inhale all by itself without having the intention to inhale. Many beginners aren't able to isolate and contract this area. If needed, cup one hand lightly in the other and press them gently against your lower belly to create the breath, like, CPR. You're literally just creating the breath by itself. And being able to practice at home, taking the hand, you can go as slow as you want. Let the upper body relax. And as fast as you want, as slow as you want. And that's all it is. And then after time, you'll learn how to do the same thing with the muscles in the stomach by yourself without the help of the hands. So quickly contract or pump your fisted hands against your low belly, pushing a burst of air out of your lungs. Then quickly release the contraction or your hands so that the belly rebounds to suck air back into your lungs. Pace yourself slowly at first. If you're practicing at home, repeat 8 to 10 times at about one exhale, inhale cycle every second or two. As you become more adept at contracting and releasing your low belly, you can increase your pace to about 2 exhale-inhale cycles every second. Imagine the exhale sweeping out or brightening the inner lining of the skull. So even though this half of the body is relaxed, we're putting the intention in this part of the skull as skull shining breath. And it's a very cleansing breath, provides energy if you're ever feeling just low and you don't want to get up and you don't want to move, especially, with being all condensed inside of the same house. This is a very good practice for in the morning as you wake up, or anytime you're feeling drained and you really just need a small boost of energy for your day. So imagine the exhale sweeping out or brightening the inner lining of the skull. Why do we practice with an open mouth in 26-2 Hot Warm Series? To cool down the body. Do you have to practice with an open mouth at the end of class? No. Feel free, if this is the way you can get the hang of the breath, for however long, 8, 10, 20, 60 classes, be the student in the room who breathes with the closed mouth. And that's fine. It sounds the same. There should literally be no sound throughout this breath anyway. What are some benefits of Kapalabhati Pranayama? Invigorating. It's warming if you do it with the mouth closed. It helps to cleanse your lungs, sinuses, and respiratory system, which is why, especially during our current times, it may be something you want to bring into your home meditation practice before or after. If meditation is in your practice, you wake up and meditate for 2 minutes, maybe do, 20 to 40 Kapalabhatis before and after the meditation. It can help prevent illness, allergies, which if you guys haven't noticed, I have severe allergies. My sinuses are one of the worst sinuses ever. They're just horrible. I don't have good sinuses at all, and literally this half of my body is just stuffed up from here to here. So this breath is really something that I focused a lot of my time and energy on to practice, especially for that reason. And it has improved my breathing tremendously. Even throughout my general practice, my life, and my